The last one is point of view and argument. And Kate and Chris recommend that that lens should be done kind of after all the other lenses, only because it's kind of using all the other pieces together. It's using word choice, it's using structure, it's using text evidence. Another way for us to think about it is, because we have a range of levels here, I mean, if intermediate is doing some of this close reading, by the time they're in middle school, we could jump right into those higher, the point of view one where it's, using multiple lenses at once. But what I like about this whole idea is that it gives us a framework of a kind of complex process. And it works towards, doing it over and over again in a replicable way. It helps develop the habit of mind that the kids will have. And it's not text specific. We're not going back into a text and saying, look for this in this text. These are meant to be cross-text, cross-genre even, not just narrative, but nonfiction as well. It can help us provide a scope and sequence for teaching, and it's really closely aligned with the Common Core. Let me show you how that works. Here's the Common Core standards for reading. This is the literature one, but the informational text one is parallel, so it fits. And if you look into the kind of work that readers do, readers kind of make inferences with the first standard, then work into themes and interpretation. Then in the next three standards, they work through craft, structure, and point of view, down into argument and looking across text, looking at validity of text. And if you try to align the lenses with these standards, the text evidence lens is really kind of at the beginning. The word choice lens then moves into craft, and then there's the structure lens and down into the point of view and argument. So I know I'm dumping a lot of ideas. Just take a minute. What kind of makes sense to you? What do you find intriguing? What are you thinking now that you didn't think maybe 20 minutes ago? Turn and talk. Okay, so I wanted to see how I was doing in my class. So what I did was a couple weeks ago, I had my kids just read, and it was their independent reading, and then I said, okay, complete a sticky note, take one of these things, and just do your best bit of thinking. I didn't prompt them. I didn't say, are you going to do character traits? Are you going to do theme? Are you going to do craft? I just said, do your best bit of thinking, because I wanted to see what they're doing on their own. No surprise there. You could probably see what I've been teaching a lot into. And I actually showed this to them, and they were a little shocked, as I was. I mean, I kind of phrase it like this: what do you think I'm happy about? What do you think we need to do more of? I also had another chart that said, do you have a claim? Do you have a quote? Do you have explanation? And the quotes, which we'd been working on all year, was really low too. So, but you can see, the pattern here. So then I thought, okay, I've got a lot of work to do. So in the next couple of mini lessons, read alouds, I really tried to not just teach to the text, but I wanted to give them an opportunity to play around with the ideas. So in the interactive read aloud, yes, we would talk about the traits and the inferences as well, but then open up to craft moves that the authors were making, symbolism, things like that, point of view. So definitely giving them lots of chance to practice it, lots of chance to turn and talk with their partner as it's happening, and then a chance to respond as well, in written form. Whole class conversations as well, so they could hear all kinds of options. At the end of a whole class conversation, Garrett did some of this work with us, where you open it up to the whole class conversation and you just record the claims that they're saying, so you have a whole list of claims. In the next 10 minutes they talk through them, and then afterwards you could say, okay, here are the claims you came up with. Pick one that resonates with you, put it in a box, and then get 3 bullets for it. So you can actually do that right then and there if they said one of the claims that they liked, or maybe they heard another one. So they, get introduced to so many, and you could say like, here, oh look, we're doing 3 claims on inference, we're doing 2 claims on interpretation, and still 1 claim on craft. Why is that? So just making them aware and practice over and over again. Here's one student's before. She wrote this about pictures of Hollis Wood. So this is the kind of thinking I would do. I would say, okay, what is she able to do? What is she doing? So she says, Hollis Wood's an orphan artist, finally feels like she belongs to a family. I wonder why she ever had to leave. Hollis is very caring. So there's inference already on a trait. Maybe a possible theme here. She cares so much about Josie. I noticed this when she thought, Josie couldn't stay alone. I couldn't leave Josie. Nice quote there. This is why I think the theme of the story is love, since Hollis Woods loves Josie so much. She cares more about taking care of Josie than living with the family she always wanted. I think the lesson, so more theme work, another quote, nice, that's okay. But that's all she was doing. Traits and themes. So this was after, a couple of lessons with the read aloud and things. So now she's responding to The Weight of Water. In the book, The Weight of Water by Sarah Krosnin, the author uses repetition to emphasize the point. For example, on page 36, she keeps repeating 1 pound. They sell everything in that shop for 1 pound, just 1 pound. So already she's going into the craft. She doesn't quite say why yet. So I'm noticing that. She repeatedly states, another thing Sarah Krosnin, the author, does is that she writes the whole book in poetry to show that the main character has, her English is not so good. Okay, so there she's getting into the why a little more. I really noticed this on page 25 where she says, and I sit up on the kitchen counter to hear her something Roshi, saving Roshi, scaring Roshi. Rosha, and remember Mama's, she was poised and powerful lungs that could cut glass before Tata left, before Coventry. I realize this is poetry since she uses many poetry techniques such as poised and powerful. Okay, and so on. And so she's getting into the craft and the word choice. Just another thought I was having that I struggle with, I don't know if you guys struggle with, but at the, how do you know, we want to work towards their independence too. So at what point do we stop saying, you got to, respond using craft? Like go find craft examples, because you're not doing it, At what point do we stop that and say like, listen, now you have craft in your arsenal, what are you noticing as you're reading? So that's another thing that I think is worthy of thinking about and talking about. Like maybe there is a point where we're like, listen, no one's doing craft, so we're all going to do craft for the next week, and here's some great text that we're looking at, let's find it, and then ease off and say, open it up and say, well, what's the thinking you're doing? That's just a thought I had. So yeah,
one of the things that we were discussing is this idea of having almost like a database of craft moves.
Yes.
It's because when I'm trying to do this, I'm always myself trying to find the craft, and so I'm always struggling to say. And you've got the obvious ones, but then you've got the more sophisticated ones.
That's right.
And sort of building as a RLA team the craft things that we can start to point out.
Yeah, and definitely.
So that's really the legwork, because once a kid has seen it, once we've modeled it, they'll go on and see even greater things than what we can see.
That's right, yeah.
Sort of having all of those ideas.
And one place to look maybe in the Teachers College writing progressions at the higher levels, like during the craft moves, I don't know if they're explicitly written in there, or just paying attention when we read books, like what is the author doing for the craft moves. But yeah, maybe to do a study on that and scope it out so that we're not reteaching the same thing or staying at the lower level. It was interesting, I met with Trina and Louise and Jody. Remember the day Trina was saying, well, what's nice to know and what's need to know as far as the standards are concerned? And we all said, well, they're all kind of need to know, but I think as a school, we're kind of over-teaching the first 3 the standards. Like we're still doing inference and interpretation, and we're way under-teaching the other standards, and partly because of where we are in the process of implementing reading and writing workshop, and there are many factors, but I think if we tighten it so that we can ensure, or just use on-demands like this, and you can see right there. Just a couple thoughts as you think about your next moves as a teacher. Kate really recommended starting with the digital text because they're in a digital world. It's fun. When I threw up that Super Bowl video, you were probably like, "Oh, cool, let's watch this," and then until you saw the lyrics. But a couple of, like I said, I would not use that text. But she recommended a Justin Bieber video, but she said that's kind of passé now. So I found a One Direction video, and the video, it's the story of my life. So the video is they're like in this room with all these pictures of their families and everything, but the lyrics is all about leaving a girl. So it's like a mismatch. It's like that's not, so that's that aha surprise. That might work. With Mary, we did the Shakira's World Cup 2010 video, and it's her Waka Waka Africa song, and that's all about why did she choose that tone for the country of South Africa at that moment? Because it was apartheid was over, and they were hosting this world event. A lot was on the line, and that was cool because it's the same upbeat kind of tone. But then we saw the video again. You saw within it like conflicting tones, because there were some soccer clips of struggles, but then you'd have so it's like you really could get into that. Those I think would be great. In the book, they give some commercials, like a Nerf commercial and a Lala Loopsy commercial, and how they used it from this woman's website, the Achilles Effect, I think it's called. Did anyone do this yet? No? But anyway, they took a Wordle of all the words used in it, and the girl one is all like princess, party, cute, cuddly, and the boy one's all kill, battle, force, So that was really interesting, and you could, juxtapose that with the girls commercial where they took the Beastie Boys song and they're making these things. That's kind of cool. Another one I was thinking of does anyone know the bad lip reading one? Have you seen the new one? I wouldn't use this to close reading. I would show this as an example of what happens when you're not close reading enough. So let's just take a look at this one. It's kind of fun.
Hey, look! I can spin around. No more cat food. Star Wars typhoon. We joke all night, but no kung fu. No more cartoons, no more kung fu. No more kung fu. They crushed his cape! They crushed his fuzzy cape!
The last thing, before, I'll give you time just to chat one more time, is it was kind of my thoughts on, as I was planning those lessons, what was I trying to find, or what was I noticing? Determining where to start and what lens to look at. You could check back with the Common Core standards for your grade level, what's in the craft and structure at your grade level, or what's in the point of view and argument. And then look at your read alouds in your current unit. This isn't something extra that should go on into the workshop. It's something that should just naturally fold in. After you read a text aloud, you could pull it out the next day or so to do a mini lesson on one of the lenses and include that into the repertoire. For you IS teachers, pull it out during the social studies time or the science time. Some of the nonfiction stuff is really great with structure in particular, and how authors create their ideas and develop them. Where in a specific text, like how do you know where to do it? Definitely at the beginning of the text might be good as readers try and make sense of the setting or the situation. Thinking about scenes in the text that matter. Some of the scenes that we did it for in the Icarus book were the exciting scenes of when he left the ship and when he went around the black hole thing. And then how do we find those scenes? Like we said, pay attention to what you do or what you're noticing as a reader, but also maybe use some of that information from the on-demands to see what your students aren't doing, so then that would provide a next step for you. So last chance. Great. Well, thank you for coming. Hopefully you got some things out of it. Happy close reading.